What is up, everybody? Josh here again, and today we have a new Icarus video for you. So hey, the Null Sector is coming to the EB and soon released, and you're thinking about checking it out. So if you have Prometheus, you're going to have access to the new Null Sector coming out soon. We have a little guide here for you today. We're going to kind of show you some tips and tricks for the Null Sector and kind of some things you need to bring in the Null Sector and what the Null Sector is all about. So let's get into it, shall we? So if you're watching this, you are going to be seeing some Null Sector spoilers, and this is your one and only warning on that. The Null Sector is kind of a hardcore zone, and it's got a lot of hardcore enemies. You're going to want to be prepared to actually go into the Null Sector, and I wouldn't suggest going into it with anything less than tier 4. So first off, what is the Null Sector, or the Ashlands? And we're going to show you exactly where it starts and how to get there. So of course you have to have Prometheus or New Frontiers, the expansion, for you to be able to do the Null Sector or even do Prometheus. If you don't have that DLC, this doesn't pertain to you whatsoever because you can't actually come here. The Null Sector is the area that is down below or south of the current zone that you have in Prometheus, and down here this is called the Null Sector. It's null and void, that's for sure, and as you can see there is no current map, but there are ways for you to make little paths like this, and we'll show you that later. But this is the area that we're speaking of. So whenever we did the first quest, it led us into the lava biome 1 and then 2.0, and then now it heads up to right here located at 06 is an entrance into the Null Sector. So this is where you're going to be going into the Null Sector, and there is a cave system that you can go through there now. There's only one cave here, and once you go through this cave, you'll be able to get to the Null Sector. Now, we're going to turn our UI and show you that once you get to about this place right here, you're going to get a debuff. The most important thing you should know about the Null Sector is that there is a area-wide debuff in the Null Sector. And that debuff is called Extremely Arid, and you have a plus 500% water consumption with that. The extremely arid atmosphere results in massively increased water consumption, and this is not just for you also, it's for any of your mounts as well. It also cancels out the deep freeze's ability to produce ice, which can usually be converted into water, and the temperature will fluctuate throughout the day. So this means you're going to be drinking a lot of water, that is for sure. So having lots of water is advisable, and we'll show you what the best containers to bring is a little bit later. First thing, we're going to show you some basics of the Null Zone. So not only do you have the arid debuff in this area, but we also lost the ability for you to establish an orbital uplink, which means that anywhere in the Null Zone, you cannot have an OEI, or orbital exchange interface, which means you cannot bring down any animals or resources, workshop gear, anything like that, and that is within the whole entire zone. This includes dropships as well. You cannot even call your dropships to the Null Zone. You can call your dropships to the edge of the Null Zone, right here like we have, but what you can do is you could put the OEI on the outside of the Null Zone on this side of the cave here where we're currently located, and that will give you the ability to be able to bring down stuff. The reason why this is so important is because there are some rare resources that you cannot get in the Null Zone. When you go into the workshop and go to resources, you'll notice you can drop down resources. This is going to be a little bit more valuable. You may be able to drop down some other resources and stuff like that, maybe like Oxite, because there's a few resources that you can't get in the Null Zone, and that is wood. I would drop down a ton of wood and or make items that have wood and bring them down whenever you come to the Null Zone, like for example take buffaloes and all that stuff down to the Null Zone. But you're going to want wood and you're going to want Oxite probably, because these are two resources that are not down there at all. Now you could bring down the wood packs, which I would highly suggest to bring several wood packs with you if you can afford those. If not, you could bring the wood wall fortifications. They actually have quite a few wood per item, and you could destroy them and break them down for some wood if you wanted to do something like that. Or you could bring these wood resources. These are actually only 10 pounds a piece, and it gives you 2.5 stacks or 250 wood per resource pack. So 2 stacks of wood actually weighs over 24 kilograms. The resource packs are only 10 each, and you can save a lot of inventory space as well if you were to bring the resource packs down. That's completely up to you though, but this is one way you can counter the fact that the Null Zone has absolutely no wood. Another thing the Null Zone is completely void of is fiber. As you can see, it's pretty much a freaking wasteland. No fiber whatsoever no wood whatsoever. There's also no water down here also. Everything down here wants to kill you, and will if you let it get close to you. So I'd bring a fast mount. Moas are pretty good for hot environments as well, and they move extremely fast. So no wood, oxite, fiber, or water can be found down in the null zone. These are items that you will have to bring in or extract. For example, with a deep vein extractor, you will periodically find deep veins down here, and you'll be able to see them and tap them, of course. And that could be for oxite or whatever resource you want. You may be wondering, if you can't get water, you can't get fiber, you can't get oxite for oxygen, and you can't get wood down there, how are you supposed to counter all those, and how are you supposed to survive in the null zone? Well, we're going to show you a counter for each one of those. Of course, we talked a little bit about wood. Wood, I think the easiest way would be to bring down your own wood with a buffalo and cart, and or bring down the resource packs in bulk. And then you can go ahead and bring down as many resource packs as you want and stuff in your inventory. And you can also load up with these Patcher 2 modules, which will give you 6 inventory suit slots each, and that will give you an additional 24 if you're using the hauler from Larkwell. So it's going to give you 4 suit slots, and then you can use Patcher 2s. But I wouldn't suggest doing it completely that way. You can encumber yourself completely and then get on a mount and run that mount full speed. As long as your mount isn't actually encumbered, your mount still will run at full speed. So that's a nice little tip for you. So one of the best ways to get wood is to buy it and or bring it down in those large walls. Now we have a ton of oxide down here, and the only reason why we have the oxide down here is because we have an electric deep mining drill here running on an oxide vein. So we actually were able to find an oxide vein. We were able to use the workshop scanner, the advanced deep mining ore scanner, for us to be able to find this oxide. There it is. And as you can see, there's an oxite right here. So there are oxite deep veins down here in the null sector that you can tap into, and I would suggest doing so because oxite is one of the major resources for making electronics because of the organic resin. Plus you need it to be able to breathe, so that's pretty important. If you can't find one of these down here, you're gonna have to bring oxite in. But this is one of the best ways, I think, to find you one. Hopefully you'll find you one on your prospect. And of course these vary, so it's not always persistent. I'm not going to show you where this one is, but it is actually right next to my base. Next, let's talk about water. Water is going to be the number one thing you want to have down here in the null sector, and it's going to be also one of the rarest things to actually get a hold of. But we're going to show you a few methods of how to counter the water debuff and also how to counter not having water down in the null sector. So as you can see, these little portable water tanks here are completely full or somewhat full of water, and what we have done is we've completely filled these up while we've been down here into our null sector playthrough. We also have electric water purifier down here as well, so we can get the best water in the game, and also for it to filter this water into drinkable water for us whenever we need it. And we're going to need it a lot. We also have the little backpack or G slot water can that goes into the heavy slot, and it's actually quite valuable to have around. You can water your animals, water yourself, water your crops, all kinds of stuff with this. It's not too awful heavy, and it actually only weighs 50 kilograms, which 50 kilograms is a little bit, but you have tons of water for a very long period of time. So this water can is also very nice to have. And of course, both of these items can be crafted in the fabricator. You can craft the portable water tank with composites and epoxy, and the water can be crafted for just epoxy. So if you have epoxy on Prometheus, that's quite easy to get and to transport down here whenever you come down. But the composites might be a little harder to do, but bring you a material processor down with you whenever you come to the null sector. That way you don't have to go all the way up to composites, and it'll be a little easier for you. When you come down to the null sector, you can bring water down on your mount as well, your G-slot items. You can increase this with skills as well. MOAs can't increase a G-slot or heavy item, but they can increase how many items you can give them, like this right here. So we're not talking about just MOAs, we're talking about MOAs, buffaloes, horses, Tenerises, whatever you're using to come down here and come to the null zone whenever you first come. I would highly suggest loading everything up in a buffalo and then bringing a faster mount down later. In buffaloes and tuskers, you can also go with car cargo hauling now, which is going to increase the number of heavy cargo slots or water cans and stuff like that you can bring down. So increasing balance pack to 3, and then of course the cargo hauling, this is what you're going to look like as far as your buffalo without even having a cart. And then you can add a cart to the buffalo and it's going to increase it quite a bit more. So you're going to have 6 slots here available. These are 6 water cans you can bring down, or 6 other items you can bring down that are heavy. So this is really nice to have, and of course you can have the buffalo carry a ton of weight down as well. So a buffalo with a cart would be nice. The reason why I'm not saying Tusker is because Tusker is for mostly a Arctic biome, and an Arctic biome animal in a very arid or hot region is not really a good idea, even though the Tusker is much tougher. So using a buffalo with a cart when you first go down is probably pretty wise. Once you're done with the buffalo, you can go to the edge of the null zone and upload it. So as far as the buffalo that you bring down, I'd definitely go into HP regeneration. There's a lot of dangerous creatures down there, and you want to make sure that your buffalo survives. You're also going to want to go for movement speed and probably have pheromone modules on if you can, because you want your buffalo to outrun all the predators as well. So you grab all the red exotic pheromone modules that you can put into your suit slots, and that will make your mount move faster and have more stamina, of course. And of course you're going to also want to have some animal feeds. These are 2 basic animal feeds that you can get fairly easy and bring down, and they do pretty well with stamina and of course with food. The Omni food, of course, is from the electric food trough. You just put anything, spoiled meat, spoiled plants, berries, whatever up here, and then it becomes Omni animal feed. So this is a pretty good stamina regeneration, health regeneration as well, plus 25%, and it's very cheap to make. I mean, you literally can throw in anything expired in there and it'll make food for your animals. Another method is taking a water barrel and just putting it on your bar and then hitting X to fill up that water container. So you take the water barrel and you can put it in your inventory as well, and it only weighs 10 kilograms, but it actually holds 300 liters of water. Now you can't actually place this down. If you were to actually place this down like so and then pick it back up again like so, you're going to notice that the water gets deleted. You don't want to do that. What you want to do is you want to always have it in your inventory. So you want to fill it up, and then whenever you get down to your base or in the null zone, then you can place it down and connect it to your water network, because it does connect to a water network as well. So that's another method. If you don't want to do the water containers, the ones that weigh 150 pounds each, then you can do these. They only weigh 10 pounds each. They don't have to go into a G slot, and they can be stored in your inventory like so. And you can have 300 liters of water, but like I said, you can't actually pick it up or the water gets deleted, unfortunately. You can also go straight down to the water and press E to fill up those containers as well from the river water, and of course you'll just have the purifiers to purify the water later. So you can make a bunch of water barrels, fill them up, and take them down to the null zone, and then hook them up, and they'll work just fine. And of course you can craft water barrels fairly cheap. They're only 4 epoxy, 40 refined wood, and 4 iron ingots each. The way you fill these up may or may not be intended currently, and thank you so much to Redfield87 for showing us this method as well. And they may change this in the future, so it's very possible that this may get changed in the future. If that's the case, then you can just use the other water can, and or you can use the portable water tank. But that does weigh a ton of weight. It's 150 kilograms per barrel for the portable water tank, so it does take a lot of weight. But if you use the water barrel method, you'll be setting pretty with water, and we'll show you how to fill up those water barrels. So one method is to go all the way out of the zone and go in the lava biome and go up here. About right here, there's a bunch of springs. You can pipe water all the way down into the null zone if you want to risk that and have it bug. And you can also set up a filtration system here where you can filter water and or just get water from this area right here at about O3 here, somewhere in this area right here, and then just go and refill your barrels whenever you need to. Or you can use ice, and you may be asking yourself, Josh, this has the Arid debuff, that means it's not producing ice. How do you have ice? In the null zone, there is an ice or Arctic section that you can go and shovel some ice. You can then take that ice that you have and you can put it in deep freezers. The deep freezers may not produce ice, but they will store ice. So we've got a bunch of ice stored up here. We went to the Arctic zone, and we're going to go ahead and show you how to fill up the water barrels. One cool thing about these metal rain reservoirs is that they store water. They store up to 150 liters. each. And if you put ice in the fuel slot, you will see that they will fill up quite nice and quite quickly. So when you go and get ice, which we'll show you here in a minute where ice is, then all you have to do is put ice in here. You can fill up the big barrels, you can fill up the wooden barrels, you can fill up whatever you want. You can even fill up your canteen if you want to. But this is actually going to give you rainwater. So it's basically rainwater in this reservoir. So the best thing about using these is that you could put these barrels inside of them and fill them back up with the ice. The number of water is going down and the water in the container is going up. And it's filling up this portable water tank, which is the one that you can actually transfer water with. Now you can't put the water barrels in this container, unfortunately, but what you can do is put it on your bar. You can hit X to fill up the water barrel and take the water out of it. And it would take 2 of these to fill it up completely. Then all you gotta do is use a water tool and connect it to your network again. You can hold E and turn them off if you want to just store the water, or hold E and turn it on and use the water. You basically water your whole base with water containers like that, or with these portable water tanks. It's up to you. Hook it up to your purifier and now you have purified water. And you could take and put your canteens in here. You can also take these water cans that go into the G slot and throw them in there as well. And they'll fill up. Like so. Also, you could just use these if you wanted to use these as water storage. You don't actually even have to use the water containers, but you can. I would suggest the water containers and the reservoirs because the barrels will hold a lot more water than these reservoirs. But you could have just a bunch of these metal rain reservoirs and just line them up through here, and that could be your water source. You can sit there and water your whole base with just the reservoirs if you wanted. It's completely up to you. So you want to make sure you have a decent system for water. We've kind of shown you one that is pretty decent. Now we're going to show you where to get the ice real quick. First, we're going to show you what to get the ice with, and this is going to be my favorite right here. This is something you can drop down from the workshop called the excavator. It does cost exotics to get, but I would bring the best shovel you can. Another thing I love to do whenever I go out in this area is bring a bunch of aluminum building pieces because they're lightweight and they don't get damaged that much in this biome. The aluminum pieces will take damage over time, but they're actually quite resilient in this biome. So the aluminum pieces are quite nice to have. And you're going to come to this area right here. There's actually a little valley right there that you'll come through. And you get to a lava area, and we'll show you exactly where it is on the map right here at K11. The very top of it right here is where this is located. You'll come in a valley right here. We've used some aluminum pieces here to go across the lava, and into the lava you can see the aluminum is not taking damage from the lava, and it has spanned all the way across. So you need to go across this lava and come over here. You're going to notice a little cave here in the back. And this cave right here is the cave that leads into the Arctic Null Zone, located right here on the map, if you're wondering. Not too far from K11. And you'll just head straight down through this cave. I usually just go straight and drop off the edge here to the right and go straight into the biome, and you'll notice that the biome does change over to a winter biome right here. And you're cold. This is where the heated canteen will go into place. This is actually probably another good place to build a base, to be honest with you. If you're worried about the water debuff or always having the water debuff, you could build right here in the Arctic. Though this biome may seem like an easier biome to survive in, you're going to notice that this biome also has its own debuff, which is called Intensely Rigid. The extreme chill of the atmosphere results in reduced food spoil time and slower movement. The rate of spoil for food is reduced by 50% with this, which is actually a buff, but you do lose 20% movement speed. It's probably a little bit better than the Arid, but you kind of pick your poison. Both biomes do have their own biome specific debuff or buff. I would consider the rate of food spoiling an actual buff. And of course you can get ice with that shovel you brought and get as much as you can. Now I wouldn't use any aluminum ramps in this area. We have used concrete just because we've built up to that point. We used aluminum when we first started in this area, but of course the snow will destroy aluminum, but it doesn't actually destroy concrete. And be careful, as there are many dangers in the null sector. And that includes polar bears. and incredibly dangerous creatures. The next big thing we're going to talk about that you can't get down here in this biome, but is easy actually to get once you know how to do it, is fiber. You can get no fiber down here in the null zone, and there's no way for you to drop fiber down. But there's a few different ways for you to get fiber. We're going to talk about a few other ways and talk about the best way at the end. So one way you can get fiber is with leather breakdown, where you can break down leather into rope. Leather is quite easy to get here in the null sector. There's tons of enemies down here, and then once you have that talent, if you want that talent, you can then make rope from leather. And you may be asking, well, how does this have anything to do with fiber? It really has to do with breaking it down. So once you make a rope, no matter how you made that rope, when you right click it and destroy it, you get 6 fiber per rope. So we've just basically produced 6 fiber from leather. So you can basically convert leather to fiber by making rope and then breaking rope down, like so. If you don't want to take a talent, then you can take a textiles bench and do the same exact thing. The rope into leather right here, and then make rope here, and then break it down. You can also grow fiber. All you'll have to do is bring down some fiber seeds with you, and then you could take those fiber seeds and plant them in a greenhouse. So at the very top of our base here, we have a nice little greenhouse set up with some drop down crop plots that we just got just because they were easy to drop down. And you can make your own if you want to. It's completely up to you, but we got some greenhouse effect going here. They're completely safe from the storms. We're good to go. So we're actually growing wheat here. We'll go ahead and pick all these up. Then we're just going to take our little fiber seeds here and we're going to plant fiber up here. And then I'm just going to take my little water backpack and I'll water it like this. You can use a watering can. It's probably more efficient for sure. You don't even have to use purified water, but use whatever you want. Water up those plants and now you're growing you tons of fiber. And then whenever it's done, you just take your sickle. This one's got Reaper 2 on it, which gives more yield whenever you're reaping plants. You don't have to go that far. Just use the best sickle you can. If you use a titanium sickle, though, with reaping, you'll get the most amount of crops and stuff whenever you grow out here. And growing is a great way to keep your food. You can keep wheat for pastries. You can do fiber. You can grow anything you need. You're going to need meds as well, just to let you know. So bring you all the seeds. You can use a seed pouch and put all those seeds in that seed pouch. And you can drop down all kinds of seeds from the workshop on the edge of the null zone. So that is one great way for you to get tons of wheat, tons of fiber, tons of stuff. You can grow it up here in the null zone. So yes, you can grow fiber in this biome in a greenhouse, and there would be no consequences whatsoever. Now, with that mentioned, I haven't actually been able to find a place where I could shovel. I haven't looked at very many places, but it looks like most of it's rock down here, so you can't really put a bunch of crop plots outside. If you do put crop plots outside, you get the biome debuff, and it won't grow as fast. So you probably want to do a greenhouse for sure. So that covers the 4 resources that is very hard to get in the null zone and how to counter those. And we're going to show you a few more tips and tricks for this area as well. So we're going to show you another decent base location, and it's actually where we're currently located at, here at K13. And it's right here in the bottom corner of it. There is a ledge here that you can actually completely wall off, and you can put your base up here if you wanted to, but you can go and completely wall it off, and you can have solar panels out here and batteries. These, of course, don't work at this time of night, where it's pretty much night right now. But you can have solar panels out here and batteries to do your power. You can also do it with windmills if you choose to do so. As you can see here, I've completely walled in this area right here. I also have an animal deterrent. I'll show you that and give you just a real quick tour of the base. So we have chickens. That was just for fun. You don't have to have chickens. You do get a contact device on missions, and I also have a turret here to protect the chickens. We have a complete concrete base here. We also have one of these. These are very valuable to bring down with you to the null sector. Electronic oxygen synthesizer. And basically that takes the water that you can now store. We showed you how to do that. And the power that you bring down, and you can make oxygen without having to have Oxite actually. This is a really great device if you can't find an oxygen deep vein and or just don't want to go that route and you're just going to bring a bunch of electronics down or whatever you use for the organic resin. But you can use this to fill your oxygen needs, and all you need is water. So you just need the water that you bring down and then get started with the ice, and you can have infinite oxygen down here with this device. The charger would be nice if you use the new lights. I do personally. Now, something I will mention is that there's no way to get rid of the Arid debuff. We even tried heavy air conditioners and all that. None of those worked. The Arid debuff, you cannot get rid of the Arid debuff, but having a heavy air conditioner down here may not be a bad idea, especially if you get really hot, and that could cool you down. I would 100% bring a miasmic tool. We do have a miasmic guide on our channel if you're interested, and also an organic residue cleaner. This is going to be one of your easiest ways for you to sit there and clean crusts that you can get with a miasmic tool, and then basically print mats or ores while you're down here. This is going to be very valuable for you to do so, as well as a material processor. That would be very wise, so you don't have to go all the way to composites. You'll automatically be able to craft composites with the materials. The material processor would be super wise to bring down here. Storage would be smart. I would 100% bring down a fabricator, and that is your highest tier device. You can make all the high tier stuffs and things. Repair benches are really nice to have as well to repair all your tools and whatnot. You can repair everything in a repair bench as long as you have the mats that you need to repair in that bench. For a mission, I'm not going to spoil it too much, but you may want to bring you a electric composter, and the reason why is because you're going to need a lot of fuel. That is for sure. Also bring you down a furnace. This is the furnace from the mission where you kill the boss or the spider. In the Prometheus mission, you can get this electric furnace. It's really small in profile, and it'd be nice to have in your little forwarding base. Otherwise, bring you a full-size electric furnace. Electric furnace would be nice to be able to smelt your composites and all that good stuff. You kind of want this base to be self-sufficient because it's so far away from everything else. We also have a little foundry as well to make tools, deep freezers to store food, and of course the marble kitchen benches to make the decent foods, and a salting station. Salting stations will help you keep your food longer. You'll see here there's some foods that will reduce your water consumption. Now you can stack that up, but I don't think it's as valuable as some people may think it is. It will help a little bit. You do have the 500% water consumption, which sucks, but there are ways to counter it a little bit with some water consumption reduction, but you can only go up to a certain amount. I've got a glass working station and concrete to do concrete and reinforced glass, which is really nice. Bringing an electric textiles bench would be pretty smart. You can convert some things over and make gear if you want to. Several batteries. I brought 6 down here for this full base, and it seems like that it runs quite well with the solar panels and the windmills that we have. And of course, you really want to bring you a chemistry bench down here. 100% you're going to be wanting to make all the meds that you can and various types of meds for missions. 100%. If you don't bring this down, you're kind of silly. Bring down the electric water purifier. You need to bring this down. This is going to give you purified water while you're down here, and purified water is important because purified water will help with your water consumption, and the stamina consumed by action as well is pretty nice. Bring your barrels like we talked about. You can either bring the wood barrels and just bring them down, then place them in your inventory, or you can bring the portable water tanks with your buffaloes and your carts, or whatever animal you're using. And of course, crop plots would be quite valuable. Kind of set up your base, tear it down, put it all in a buffalo, and bring it down here if you wanted to. But you definitely want to be able to grow, and you want to be able to grow a lot. I'd also bring a powered creature deterrent. These things are pretty nice. They actually will keep creatures away from your base. I'd bring several of these bad boys, if you can, the metal rain reservoirs, or you can just make them while you're down here. Up to you completely. And 100% I would bring one of these, the electronic food trough. These are really nice to produce food for your animals. So the filtered water trough will pull from your containers and stuff like that and automatically fill up water for your animals. So a filtered water trough is quite valuable to have down here also. Of course, bring whatever you want. It's your game, but I'm just giving you some suggestions as far as what you should bring down here with you. Oh, did I mention guns? And lots of them. And lots of ammo for those guns. There's a lot of dangerous stuff down here. Also, if you see something like this, it is not a piece of candy. Do not go up and try to eat it. This will happen. And be careful of the various exotic variants of creatures as well. Let me know there is a storm down here called acid showers, and it isn't an actual rainstorm, as it doesn't fill up your water containers at all. These are full anyway, but from ice. But it doesn't actually fill up water containers like this trough or anything like that. And you can see that it's not actually a rainstorm. It's not filling up their little large water trough either. So these storms do not count as rain. And another quick tip is the Biomore backpack. So if you want to completely counter water at and basically never drink water, you can actually literally sit there and heal yourself constantly through the water debuff, which is the dehydrated. And when you have that, you'll notice that you're taking about 2 damage constantly, but the backpack is going to be sitting there healing you up. You can see our health bar just pretty much goes back to full. So this will pretty much outlast it. Now, it won't outlast food and water, but it definitely will. You can sit there and go around without even having to drink if you have the Biomore backpack. So that is a technique. I don't know if that's going to be in the game for very long after they find out about that, but yeah. Basically, you can counter water debuff by the Biomore backpack. You will just have the annoying every couple of seconds. So, and you'll be 2ing. This works with low-level miasmic too. So if you're taking a miasmic debuff from the miasmic crust like that, and you have a decent amount of crust on you, it'll actually sit there and kind of heal you from taking that damage. And of course, you can have other healing foods as well, and that will increase it also. So let's talk a little bit about the map and the fact that you can't actually have a map, and the map is only just this little black area. You'll see these little white dots that we have on the map, and these are the prototype tool beacons or beacon trails that you can place. So we're going to show you how to unlock those and craft those and use them. So these can be put anywhere you want, and you can chain them together, and you can kind of do a path that you can see on the map. Makes it a little bit easier to find your way around the null zone since there is no map. In tier 3, we have the prototype trail beacon right above the portable beacon, right next to repair bench here. And you can learn this. It is crafted in the machining bench, and you get the trail beacon and the trail beacon tool. The trail beacons are used to actually make the trail, and of course the beacon tool is used to link the beacons together. The trail beacon costs gold wire, copper wire, steel ingot, steel screw, and glass, and the prototype trail beacon tool is actually the exact same, only platinum sheath instead of steel screw. So once you've crafted both of those and several of the trail beacons, you get 5 per craft, so you're going to have to make several if you want to make a really large line on the map. So let's say, for example, I'm going to make a trail from here, which is our main path, over here into the east side of the map, over in O13 and stuff like that. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and put the prototype trail beacon on our bar, and then just press that one. There is an option to unlink the beacon from the last one you placed. You'll hold R, that will reset the beacon, and then you can place your first beacon, and every beacon that's placed after that will be linked. Now you do have 100 meters in between beacons that you can place. They can't go any further than 100 meters. So we're going to run 100 meters towards the direction that we're trying to make a trail. You don't even have to do 100. You could do like 50. You could do it as close as you want, but you'll use a bunch of trail beacons doing that. So you kind of might want to space them out a little bit, and that will let you kind of make your path. And then if you just keep doing this, you'll be able to make a line on the map that you can follow. Of course, these light up, so you can kind of see them in the dark and in storms as well. And you can see that little bit that we just did. We have a path now going on the map. So this is a start of a trail. So say if we wanted to branch off from that one, we're just going to hold R. That's going to unlink from that one, and then we could start another trail if we wanted to on the map. And you'll see this trail starts right here, and you can see we're starting a new trail. Let's say if we start a new trail, but we want to reconnect to this trail. So all we're going to do is go up to this beacon here, and we're going to press E to link to that beacon, and then we can now continue placing beacons on that line. And you can see we've extended that line. So that's how the beacons work. So hopefully this video has helped you quite a bit to get ready for the Null Zone. There are lots of new missions for you to do in the Null Zone. That's something that could keep you occupied while you're down here. Check out those missions. They are quite fun, if you ask me. Overall, once you get all your resources settled in and you can survive with those 4 resources, it's going to be a lot easier for you to survive down here in the Null Zone. The Null Zone is a hardcore area, and it is meant to be hard. And that's going to be it for this video. Don't forget, if you like what you see, to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Subscribing will get you more Icarus videos just like this one. If you have any questions about the area once it comes out or now, comment down below. We'll answer every question that you post, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Peace.